But I'm here today to talk about education for sustainable development and just providing a sample of examples of the different ways that UCC Library contributes to the sustainability development goals. So just as an introduction and a bit of context before I actually jump into the examples, I'll be giving you an overview of UCC Library and the digital services that we provide there, as well as a quick overview of what education for sustainable development is and the SDG goals that I'll be covering. So within UCC Library, the presentation will be in the context of the digital experiences and digital learning services that we offer from the library. So these would be things like different types of spaces like our newly opened digital scholarship studio, but also services that we've had running for a number of years now, like 3D printing, our library video recording studio and podcast studio, and also equipment loans and virtual reality. So when it comes to education for sustainable development, the whole philosophy behind it is to ensure that every person has the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values required to shape a sustainable future. So this can be done through a variety of different pedagogy methods. And when I'm talking about the UN Sustainability Development Goals, we will be focusing on 4 of them for these examples. So that would be things like SDG 1, no poverty, SDG 4, quality education, and number 8, decent work and economic growth, and number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. So then tying it all together then, so the services that we have, how does it all relate to education for sustainable development, or the SDGs? So all of the services that we've designed have been put in place to promote different types of literacies, to promote digital inclusion and promote innovation, creativity, and access. So it's not just about the environment, but as Rebecca covered in the keynote today, it's also about the social and economic development. So making sure that we don't leave people behind and making sure that we're doing things that are in a cost-effective way. So it's all about recognizing and valuing that link between what we're doing and with the SDGs. So some of the ways that you can support education for sustainable development are through active and participative and experiential learning methods. So things like giving students and staff the opportunity for critical reflection, using real-world scenarios and participatory learning, and also drawing from community groups and businesses around you by having collaborative learning or problem-based learning. So I'll now cover some of the examples of the ways that we try and introduce this into our services. So the first thing that we've done is we've transformed our learning environments, and not just the physical learning environments, but also our virtual learning environments as well. So as I mentioned, the picture on the left there is our newly opened digital scholarship studio, and this is a space that is ripe for collaborative learning. It doesn't matter what you're studying, what discipline you're in, everyone is welcome there, staff and students, and it's a space that has various suites of software included in it. We have access to our digital makerspace, which includes our 3D printing services and 3D scanning. And we've also transformed our virtual environment to make sure that all of our learning resources are now available online as well, so that any student can access them regardless of where they're based physically or what time they're trying to access it. So this all links in then to SDG 4 because we're trying to ensure that everyone has access to quality education. We've also partnered for innovation, so again, linking in with SDG 9. So on the picture there, we had a few digital humanities students who came in. They were one of our first users of the Scholarship Studio to scan butter wrappers from the Butter Museum. And these butter wrappers are now being ingested into the Digital Repository of Ireland. So again, expanding that access and having them have a space where they can do these types of work. We've also partnered with staff around campus. So the tweet there is all about how we supported the research process to have someone prototype an idea into reality. So we 3D printed a model scale of a refrigeration unit. So before they actually went and built it, they prototyped it by 3D printing the different parts and components of it. So seeing how it would actually work. We also build on digital capacities, not just for library staff, but also for students and the general UCC staff. So again, linking this in with SDG 8, making sure that we're ensuring staff will have decent work and allowing for economic growth. So there we have a picture of my colleague Martin, who is 3D scanning something. So again, that was the process that we all had to learn how to do. And then the other picture then is me giving our students an introduction to our podcast studio. So showing them how to use the technology that we have available. So then they can go in there in their own time and use it for whatever purposes they want. We've also increased access to resources, knowledge, and information, and we've done this to support staff and students and researchers in creating new knowledge. So there is a poster up there I have as an example of work that myself and my colleague Elaine, who's our special collections librarian, did, and this was all about increasing access to material in special collections, because special collections is often a restricted collection, as in you have to physically be there to engage with the material. We were exploring different ways of presenting the material so that anyone could access it. So whether that be through coloring books or online exhibits or a 3D scans of some of the material in there. We've also started to explore open educational resources as well. So up there I have 2 books that we have published on Pressbooks. One of them was from a PG dip in innovation through design thinking, and the lecturer has compiled work that students did as part of their portfolio and has now made it publicly available. So this means not only do incoming students have a chance to see previous examples of students' works, but that means anyone can have access to it. And then at the bottom, then we have a book that we compiled highlighting some of the stuff that students did in a post-grad challenge. So again, this was a one-day innovation event where students all came in, had a whole day to come up with a pitch. And before, those pitches would have been just there for the day, and then afterwards, no one would have had access to it. So now we're increasing access to this knowledge that they've created, so that others can expand on their work and they can showcase it. We're also developing key skills, not just for students, but for everyone in the community. So we've run a series of workshops for Cork Lifelong Learning Festival. So things like digital skills like graphic design or an introduction to 3D printing. But we also had a workshop that focused on how to spot fake news. And again, this was with my colleague Katrina and Elaine, where they had an online webinar and they invited anyone to register for it so they could develop those key digital literacy skills. And that all links in then to what we're all trying to promote, which is lifelong learning. So again, with Cork Lifelong Learning Festival, we gave the public a chance to come into the library and experience VR. So again, trying to remove a little bit of that digital divide, making sure that people have access to technology regardless of cost. We also had a collaborative zine making evening as part of Culture Night last year. So again, inviting members of the community in so that they could construct their own knowledge and so that they could convey things that were affecting them within the community. So those are just some samples of some of the things that we've been doing in the library. We're just starting. We're obviously going to explore and see what else we can do with the new spaces that we have and the new services that we have. But I think at the end of it, it all comes down to equipping everyone and giving them the skills and knowledge and abilities required to build a sustainable future. And just as a little plug, if you are interested in any of the technologies that I kind of covered, we are having a Make, Do, and Mend show and tell tomorrow. So it'll be a few of us around where you can actually come and see what 3D scanning is or see what 3D printing is. And that will be tomorrow at 12:30. Thank you.